Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a whole new episode of Full Steam Ahead. I'm your host, Zo. Cantu is on the other side right there. It's been a while. We usually talk to you all on Monday and Tuesday, but we went ahead and did the live recording on Wednesday because we don't know what's going to happen with free agency rolling around. A lot of Juan Soto news. I don't know if you've been living under a rock and hearing about that part, Angel. I mean, they've been already talking about this could be potentially heading into the baseball winter meetings that he
Okay.
could be looking at a team already.
Oh wow. Okay.
So
Yeah, I'd like to cover. And before Astro Words Craig comes at us, it's my fault we're late. 10 minutes. Apologize. But hey, we're live. You're here listening. Let's have a good time.
yes, we are live on a wonderful Wednesday night, but in Houston, it is rainy and soggy as hell outside. I will say that. So,
Yeah.
but this is the title of episode 225 Astro What Ifs heading into Dallas because, like I already mentioned, the baseball winter meetings is less than a week away. I believe it starts Sunday, if I'm not mistaken, Angel, either Sunday or Monday, heading all the way to Thursday. That's when all the negotiations come in from free agents, talking to the agents, GMs, talking about potential trades and stuff like that happening, as well as the Rule 5 draft. Of course, the Astros and other teams out there will be getting another player from the Rule 5 draft. But we got a lot to talk about. Backup
Oh,
plan. What happened with Ken Rosenthal, real quick? Go ahead if you want to say something.
I was gonna say just a heads up for our viewers out there is that we will be recording on Thursday next week just to give a brief of what happened overall the winter meetings and impressions, things we found interesting and all that good stuff. So next week you can catch us on Thursday.
Yes, more than likely it will be a Thursday night episode, like he said. Try to get everything situated out of the way, and of course, what big signings had came around the league. But like I was mentioning real quick, the Rosenthal article. I don't know if everybody have seen that with the Astros potential backup plan. Looking at a certain player that has been in the American League and was with the AOS last year. Pre-winter meetings list, as Angel and I had looked around some free agents that the Astros were talking about heading into the winter meetings. What ifs, of course, this is the title, and both of us have our what if scenarios, what the Astros could potentially be doing heading into the winter meetings, and a little bit of around the horn. There's already been one big name off the board, Angel Blake Snell to the Dodgers. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But if you were in that National League West, you are hating the shit out of the Dodgers right now. If you're a Dodgers fan, you're
Yeah,
loving it.
yeah. It's really there's no in between. Honestly, it's either you're a Dodgers fan, like you said, you're excited about your team. If you're in team in the ALS, you are binding like basically rallying together on the hate of the Dodgers because I'm sure that's how you have you heard the saying the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and right now I feel like all the other teams in the NOS are like together hating on the Dodgers.
I don't know if you saw Matt Chapman's
I did.
posting on
It's
Instagram, post a snake emoji.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about this. I was like, man, like Blake Snell's really hopping around the NL West, Padres, Giants, and now Dodgers. I mean, what's next for him to join the Diamondbacks and the Rockies?
I think Rockies would be first, then the Diamondbacks, just for the fact there's beautiful scenery out there in the Rocky Mountains.
Absolutely.
So, but
But,
before we get started, let everybody know where they can find us, where they can hear our beautiful voices. Of course, YouTube as well, that we're on as currently on live.
yeah, we're on TikTok, Twitter, X, sorry, YouTube at Full Steam Ahead, and we're also on Instagram at FSA Full Steam Ahead. There, we don't have to tick anymore, like we said, but it is up there above my head. You can see it there the entire time, and you can catch it on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts as well. And
Yeah.
hopefully, we are on your Spotify Wrapped for 2024. I want to see Full Steam Ahead at number one, right there.
Well, what was your Spotify at least top three
I don't
artists?
have Spotify. I use
I
Apple
don't either,
Music
and that's like I mean I'm more of Apple Music,
too.
but Spotify. I mean I used to have Spotify back then, but like I changed from Apple Music. If I had a guess for me, it'd be like I've been listening a little bit, not even a little bit, a lot of Luke Combs. I like listening to country.
Yeah.
So Luke Combs, I know is probably up there. Morgan Wallen's another guy that's up there. Zach Bryan's another guy up there. And we're talking Spanish. Fuerza Regia is already on there, dude.
Yeah,
That's my jam.
I saw my Apple one for Saturday. That's definitely on there as well. Like a lot of Spanish bands. And we are doing country. Zach Bryan, Zach Top as well. George Strait. Gotta let me the king there. But yeah, just guys like that.
Yeah, the king of country. King of country. But nobody wants to talk about our Spotify rap. They want to hear about the Astros because the baseball winter meetings are around. And we'll start it off with the backup plan as the Astros are, source had said there could be a potential backup plan if Alex Bregman doesn't come around. This Perkins Rosenthal, of course, you've seen him on TV and of course his columns and all that stuff on the Athletic. But this is what he had to say. Perkin Rosenthal, the Astros are focused on re-signing Alex Bregman, but aren't putting all of their eggs in that basket. They've been linked to Willy Adames, another likely nine-figure free agent, and have also checked in with a few contingency plans, including free agent Jorge Polanco. Jorge Polanco, middle infielder, started as a shortstop, changed to second base. A lot of his tenure was with the Minnesota Twins. This past season, he went to the Seattle Mariners. Angel, give me your thoughts of potentially Polanco that could be in the Astros uniform if the Astros don't go with Bregman or Adames.
Well, let me start with the Alex Bregman and Willy Adames saga there. My thing is, if you're not going to pay Alex Bregman, why are you going to pay Willy Adames? And if you can pay Willy Adames, that means you can pay Alex Bregman because I feel like their contracts are around the same. I would say the Alex Bregman gets on base, OPS is pretty high, but Willy Adames hits a lot more home runs. So they have stats that cancel out each other, but to me they're almost the same player. I would give the heads up to Alex Bregman, honestly, just a defensive wizard, a little bit more better on the plate. So to me is if you can if you can make a battle for Willy Adames, you can make the battle for Alex Bregman. So I think that's a possible thing. The fact that they have a backup plan, I think that's just to keep all their options open. You never know if there's a team that's going to swoop in and woo Alex Bregman a little bit more. It's just to have backup plan. But it makes sense that those are our top two guys. Like we were saying before, Willy Adames is shortstop, but would more likely move to third base. That makes sense. But if they were to sign Jorge Polanco and I get Alex Bregman and Willy Adames, that's like trading in your Porsche for a Ford Fusion. There, honestly, that can't happen. If the Astros are serious about winning a World Series and being winners of the AL West, now I'm no disrespect to Jorge Polanco. I mean, he's a veteran, lasted in the majors for a long time. Well, well-respected player, but come on now. If you're actually serious, you have to get one of those two guys. And I think clubhouse-wise, signing Alex Bregman will be the better option.
Yeah, I mean, what are you trading a Ford Fusion for? What was your vehicle?
No, Porsche? I said it's like trading a Porsche for a Ford Fusion.
Okay.
Yeah.
What an analogy right there. But yeah, looking at Jorge Polanco's stats right now, and this was a guy that had a really great 2021 season, even 2019. He's a one-time All-Star, made the All-Star team in 2019 at a 4.7 WAR. Obviously, he's a switcher, 22 home runs that year, 79 RBIs. Even 2021, my God, 33 home runs and 98 RBIs. And target field is not a really, the length and the height of that wall in right is very hard to hit over. So credit to him. But in Seattle, what a horrific season for him. 1.4 WAR, maybe the lowest if you don't count 2020, because I'm really not going to count 2020. But yeah, the lowest WAR in his career is 1.4, and that was this past season. 16 home runs, 45 RBIs, 213. Batting average, one of the lowest in his career. 651 OPS, a 93 OPS plus. Look at that Baseball Reference right now as we talk about this. But yeah, I do agree with you. I just don't see him as a corner infielder. Of course, too, to play into that part is his injury history. He's been injured quite a bit in these past seasons. 80 games only played last year with the Twins. He did make a good part of it in that postseason. If you remember, the Astros did play the Twins, and he did hit a home run. I think he had one or two in that series in the division against the Astros. But another thing to mention is with players playing in Seattle, it's really not their strength. So one of the biggest examples I will use is Teoscar Hernandez. Hernandez had a horrific season in Seattle in the PNW with the Mariners and got that 1-year deal with the Dodgers. And look how that happened. He raked. I'm not saying Hernandez is Polanco, but I'm just making that assumption of maybe T-Mobile Park isn't one of the most offensive, great hitting places to hit, especially for a right-handed hitter pulling the ball. So yeah, I don't think Polanco is the answer for third base for the Astros. And like you're saying, if to trade a Porsche for a Ford Fusion, if that's the case, you might as well just stick with your farm system, stick with the Shea Whitcomb, stick with um now, I don't know if you want to build Bryce Matthews into that future plan of possibly playing third base, or we don't know what's going to happen, 2 or 3 years or 4 years down the road. Matthews is going to still be in this organization. But Shea Whitcomb, of course, the Astros did see that. A lot of Astro fans did watch that plan out at third base with what a 4 errors in
Yeah.
one game from him, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, the long part for both of us, and we'll talk about our what ifs later. Alex Bregman has to be the third baseman for the Astros, but as of right now, yeah, I don't think Jorge Polanco is the solution if you're trying to find a guy to play third base.
I just feel like the Astros clubhouse is like a brotherhood, right? A little bit. Like, but as you slowly start taking pieces away, that Joe that they have slowly starts to like, it kind of evaporate a little bit. So like you took it away, George Springer. Okay, that's fine. They still won, right? Carlos Correa, that one, Yuli Guerrero. But I think Alex Bregman is kind of. I feel like Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve, both of those guys, are the glues to that clubhouse.
Mhm.
And I feel like if you take one out, yes, Jose Altuve will do everything possible to take sole possession of that leadership, right? So another guy might step in like Jordan Alvarez, but I think it's going to be like something's missing. And I did, I do agree with you when you said that uh, instead of experimenting with Jorge Polanco, use the farm system what they have, and I feel like the money that can be given to Jorge Polanco, if you trust the farm system guy, it could be spent elsewhere. It could be
Mhm.
spent like maybe as a relief pitcher or for a starting pitcher, right? Kind of like get places where you other need. But I, if Alex Bregman happens to sign somebody else, you have the Astros have to make that push for Willy Adames. I think that's the only thing. And like again, like it's good to have a backup plans. Uh, I think everybody figured this. If it wasn't Alex Bregman, it could be Willy Adames. I think those are the top two guys you have to get.
Who do you think gets paid more? I would say. Do you think Alex Bregman would be the guy over Adames money wise, AAV wise?
It's
Show me with that.
it just depends who signs first. I want to say, and the reason for that is because if you look at, I'm gonna talk about this later, but if you look at the contracts between Frankie Montes and Matthew Boat signed first 2 year $29 deal, then Frankie Montes signed second 2 year 34. So it's gonna be slowly increasing. I think
Mhm.
whoever signs first will probably get the least amount of money just because that's kind of sets the market. Like you saw, like for example, Matt Chapman signed an extension at 59 or 69. So the next
Mhm.
guy's going to want a little bit more than that. And if, for example, say Alex Bregman signs with the Astros for say 180, then the Yankees, I believe, are going to make a strong push for Willie Adames and pay him 200, like 200, right? So it just depends on who signs first.
Yeah, Willie Adames. I'm looking at it right now. Baseball Reference as well. Hasn't played professionally at third base in the hot corner. Of course, his minor league days, he
Yeah.
did play a little bit of hot corner, but I agree with you. If you lose out on Alex Bregman, you got to find a way and a will to go after Adames. Adames has great offensive numbers. I think the Crawford boxes are really going to help him do so. Of course, Jeremy Pena, Christian Javier, Brian Abreu, they've all played with the WBC together, so he has a familiarity with those type of players. And I think Adames, that was one thing that the Astros needed last year was kind of the offensive production. And if you do take out Alex Bregman, which we talked about his strikeout and walk rate this past season, I mean, the walks really were decreased this past season in 24. And you just plug in another guy that hits 20 plus, 30 plus home runs and getting about what 80, 90 RBIs. I think you take that. That's a great pull if you just don't get Bregman to re-sign with them.
Yeah. And then honestly, whichever guy, Willie Adames or Alex Redmond, they're gonna have pitches to hit because if we structure the lineup, it's gonna be Jose Altuve, either Alex, maybe could be Jeremy Pena at two hole. Then you push in Willie Adames, Alex Bregman between Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker. He's gonna get pitches to hit just because they know what's coming next after that.
Yeah, I think Adamas too is just. I mean, he's young. He's still young. 28 last year. He'll be 29 this coming new season. And I think he's just reaching his peak barely right now. 22, 31, 98 home runs and RBIs. 23. he had 24 home runs, 80 RBIs, and 24, 32 home runs, and 112 RBIs. So with Bregman, you didn't see that RBI production as high, even as well with the home runs. With Adames, you're getting a couple more RBIs with runners in scoring position, runs scored as well. OPS plus is amazing. The WAR is there too as a 3.0. So plug in, if you do lose on Bregman, plug in Adames at third base. I think you got to be excited if you're a Nationals fan, to go with that route.
I feel like we're kind of contradicting ourselves. I feel like we're saying that Alex Bregman needs to resign, but I feel like we're making Willy Adames look a lot better right now.
No, but like you said before, the clubhouse leadership, the culture that the Astros have set since what? I mean, he got into the league in 2016. They had lost Springer. They've lost Correa. Correa was a big one of leadership for a lot of Astro fans. And like you said, like Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. And if you lose Bregman, then it's kind of like that meme of John Travolta kind of like looking around like this, like where everybody had gone. That's going to be Jose Altuve. So of course, I think both of us are really firm on re-signing Alex Bregman as your number one priority heading into the baseball winter meetings. And it is. The leadership was a huge help last season because the Astros were not playing good baseball in the month of March and April. And Bregman had helped out Hunter Brown because, I mean, when you talk to Hunter Brown, that was the first thing. He needs to stay in the Astros uniform. And he was a huge reason why his numbers started going in the right direction instead of downhill because in the beginning of the season, he wasn't pitching really well. And look what happened at the end. Jeremy Pena the same way. He loves playing alongside with Alex Bregman. Jose Altuve has had a seat to see Bregman shine since 2016. So, yeah, if you're the Astros, Jorge Polanco is out of the plan. No, like you said before, no offense to him, but there should be no way in hell that they should be going after Polanco. First and foremost, it should be Alex Bregman. And then after that, if it does happen, if Willy Adames is still on the board, I honestly think it's going to be a bidding war at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
that first domino, I will say, is going to be Juan Soto. And if they said Juan Soto is fixing to sign before the winter meetings start, all chaos is going to go loose heading into Dallas. I'm saying that right now.
You think there's going to be signings left and right after that?
Yes, because all the teams are going to be shifting their priority after Soto. Like, Yankees are one team that's going to do that. The Blue Jays, they have a lot of money too. The Red Sox as well. So every team right now who are looking into Juan Soto, after that, I mean, even the Mets are going to be big spenders out there. They're going to shift their focal point to other players like guys like Pete Alonso, Alex Bregman, Max Fried, Corbin Burns. Watch. I'm telling you right now.
That's crazy. There hasn't been much talk about Corbin Burns. I think he was like, Cy Young a few years ago?
Well, it's like Max Fried. Max Fried's name just barely came up with the Yankees just not too long ago, just earlier today.
Yeah, that just shows that Juan Soto saga continues as well. So.
He did sign with Celsius. I don't know if you saw that announcement.
Well, he's getting his bag for sure.
Yeah, so it's going to be a crazy winter meetings. One, the craziest since I would say, I mean, really last year with Shohei Ohtani. But there's a lot of superstars in this free agency.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. There's gonna be a lot of shakeup around the league. Different teams getting better. It's just, I mean, it's good for baseball. Now, we're gonna have a discussion later if this thing is actually good for baseball. But right now, having like signings and stuff like that, it's very good to see competitive teams.
Yeah. So let's move on into our pre-winter meeting list of position. I would say that the Astro and player-wise, what they're going to be looking at heading in. You're going to be looking at first base. I don't know if you really want to say third base on that list because there's not too many good third base free agents. So we're going to exclude that. But first baseman's on the list. We'll start off right there. Paul Goldschmidt, Pete Alonso, Anthony Rizzo, Josh Bell, Christian Walker, Ty France, and Carlos Santana. Real quick, I'll go with the ages. Goldschmidt, 37, Alonso, 29, Rizzo, 35, Bell, 32, Walker, 33, France, 30, and Santana, 38. Left-handed outfielders are next because that was another thing that Dana Brown had talked about, getting a left-handed bat. and I think outfields are going to be the biggest part of the left-handed batters. So we'll start off with Michael Conforto, 31, Anthony Santander, 30, Alex Verdugo, 28, Max Kepler, 31, Jurickson Profar, 31. Which putting Profar on that list is just it could be a possibility, but he's coming off a great freaking season in San Diego. And then not but last, the trade candidates. This is some trade candidates that the Astros could potentially go for. Of course, this is not what we're saying that they are going to go for and they need to go grab, but these are positional needs that I think the Astros are looking at. And starting with a team that's been kind of going a little bit downhill as of late in the NL Central, the friendly rivals of the St. Louis Cardinals, Nolan Arenado, age 33. And then another player that I think Astro fans cannot stand, and a guy that really was outspoken about the 2017 MVP, of course, the cheating scandal of the Astros, Cody Bellinger, who is 29 years old.
Wow.
So
That'd be crazy. That'd be kind of like a full circle moment there.
it would be it'll be crazy, but it's just like if you're
To,
the Astros, how do you bring a guy like that had said a bunch of negative things about the organization, about a specific player, and all that, and bring him in to the clubhouse? So
it's a business first, though. That's the thing.
it's a bit exactly. So what names kind of strike you on this list as we do head into our what if segment? But what do you think? What names stand out in this list that potentially that the Astros could be looking at?
A few names I think they're gonna be looking at first, right, to fill in the hole at first base. I would say Christian Walker, even Ty France, in there too, just because Ty France. I mean, the Astros know what Ty France can do. I feel like that's one of like when every time Ty France sees the Astros on the list, it's like that bat catches fire a little bit. So, he's one that really catches my attention too. And I would say Michael Conforto. I think he has battled through injuries, but maybe that could be an advantage of signing him for a 1 year cheap deal and see what it could be like a high risk, high reward guy as there. But I think those are two guys that kind of stick my attention. I would say Jurickson Profar too. He had a great season with the San Diego Padres, and a utility guy like Mauricio Dubon, we can kind of plug him in anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I just don't think that is gonna happen because of the season he had over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that'd be crazy. Oh, Asherworth Craig did hop
You know,
on.
he's late with his comment.
If they if they traded for Bellinger, they might as well sign Trevor Bauer too.
That's true. He's not lying.
Yeah, what a great comment on that. But first basemen, of course, that's kind of I would say a need that the Astros are going to look at. John Singleton, I have his numbers right here, had a 0.3 WAR, played 119 games after Jose Abreu. That did not work out well for them. 13 home runs, 42 RBIs. Remember, it's a 162 game season, so he probably maybe missed a third of not playing, maybe even less than that. But some names that I'm looking at, if you're a first baseman, yeah, you could go after P. Alonso if you don't sign Alex Bregman. But a guy like you were mentioning, Christian Walker is a good one. When we get with the what ifs, I will break down what candidates I think the Astros can get. Ty France, like you said, and every time he plays Houston, there's just something that bat just looks like a damn lightsaber, and he's hitting the shit out of the ball out of the planet. You get what I did there. But left-handed outfielders too. Conforto's a good one, and the Astros have had some talks with Conforto in the past. Of course, that injury history does come into play. Jurickson Profar is another guy. I think even Alex Verdugo too. 28 years old. Not wasn't a good season with New York, but you've seen in the past seasons with Boston. I mean, he still has that potential. He's still young. Um, it's just a matter of time for him to break out, just like some of these other guys that are on the free agent market.
I feel like Verdugo needs a beard to have success. It's like kind of like strives his power. So maybe that's why.
Could be. Nolan Arenado is a very, very interesting one. I think a lot of Astro fans wouldn't mind that. I just believe for the Astros to get Arenado, the Cardinals are going to have to, have a lot of that money paid off by them. I think the Rockies, I want to say, are still paying off on his contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
But I mean, that contract, whew, 27, I think it's like around 20s plus a year of the AAV on his contract. And for the Astros to trade him plus give away some prospects for him, 33 years old, still not bad, but at the same time, too, I do think Arenado is looking to win a World Series. He's only gone to the playoffs once or twice with the Cardinals and Rockies. I think he's gone more with the Rockies than the Cardinals. So, so that'd be an interesting one. I just do not see it happen. That's why we had mentioned before trade candidates: Cody Bellinger, Nolan Arenado. That doesn't necessarily mean we're saying they got to go get him. We're just throwing some names that could possibly happen if the Astros do go to that route, because third baseman is going to be a question mark if Bregman doesn't resign. And then Cody Bellinger is a guy that you could plug at first base, and he plays center field as well. So those are some guys that we are talking about. Now for the Astros to trade away some players, I'm looking at more than likely, I'm looking at Ryan Presley probably
Yeah.
being gone before the season starts of 2025. And either Chas McCormick or Jake Myers. I feel like Dana Brown has talked very high about Chas McCormick still, even though he did not have a great season last year. Jake Myers has some, strength because of the range he presents in center field. So his market value, I would say, be a little bit higher than Chas, just for the fact he plays some great defense. So if I had to choose, I mean, if I had to trade away one of those guys, it'd probably be Myers over McCormick. Then you can, if you're an Astros fan, and if you're the front office too, you could be looking at getting some prospects back in that trade, because of course the Astros do not have a strong farm system.
Yeah, I think with the trades is the trade capital for sure. It's just I feel like people, a lot of teams know that the Astros don't have a strong farm system, so they're going to be bidding high right off the bat. Like they're not going to give in because they know eventually if the Astros really want to get the trade done, they're going to have to spend and send some good guys out there.
Yeah.
But now that Lorenzo kind of gave you the list of candidates, now let's move to the next segment of Astros What Ifs. This is the segment where we kind of give our thoughts. Is like, what if the Astros, we know they want to be a playoff team, so it's like the what if moves that the Astros will need to do to get them back to the World Series. So we kind of broke it down. What are the top priorities the Astros had to do in order to make it to the World Series? So Lorenzo, let's start with you real quick. What are your what if moves that need to be done? Do you think the Astros kind of have to do in order to be a World Series team again?
So I think we go back and forth, but for first starters for the winter meetings, and I think this is going to be for both of us, the Astros will need to try to find a way to retain Alex Bregman in the Astros uniform. That is your number one priority. Dana Brown has already been very vocal about that, being that his top priority is re-signing Alex Bregman. We've already said why the Astros need to re-sign him. Of course, I think it is a good, strong chance. If I had to, I don't want to say bet on it, but you're looking at a great high percentage that that Alex Bregman could be back in an Astros uniform. Of course, he's been here for so many years. His family's here. He's raising his son right now, too. So I just don't think having him not in the Astros uniform is going to be very heartbreaking to not just Astro fans, but even some of the guys in that clubhouse. And we've already talked about some players that are very vocal about like what Alex Bregman did. You've seen Jose Altuve, and we've said this too, that I've never seen Altuve been more vocal about a player than anybody. Not even Correa, not even Springer, not even Cole, but Alex Bregman. Yeah, I just don't think. I don't say that they're not going to be a playoff team if he doesn't come back, but it's going to be, for the future wise of this organization, it's going to be hard for them to win the division. Not just that, maybe even get a playoff spot in the American League.
Yeah, especially the AL West is getting better. I mean, the Angels are making moves. Seattle's always going to be a competition. The Rangers are going to be competition as well. Like, it was a close one this year as well, so it's going to be a little bit more, more than that. And, just to back you up on that, that's going to be my first priority, too, is re-sign Alex Bregman. So I think that was a contestant there. I think this is a move where it's kind of like a franchise move. Like it's for the better of the franchise. Yes, you understand like you're not gonna get the 2019 Alex Bregman because if you were going to, last year was the time. It was a contract year. It was him to earn as much money as he can, and injuries just played a toll a little bit, right? He couldn't hit more than 30 home runs, which I don't think is going to happen again. But the fact, like you said it first, the guys are vouching for this guy. That just speaks volumes of what's going on behind the scenes that we can't see as like sports writers and as as people who are in attendance again and again. Like it's just something that's there, something like a bond that's there that can't be unbroken. I think signing Alex Bregman is going to be good for that clubhouse, good for the young Astros that are coming up, and just great overall for the Astros franchise.
Yeah, because I mean, think about it. Heading after this next offseason, like fast forward to 25 over, the next free agents coming in for the Astro will be Framber Valdez and Kyle Tucker. Do you see the Astros re-signing Kyle Tucker into an extension? Who's favorable more for an extension, Alex Bregman or Kyle Tucker? You would say
I'll say Alex Bregman. The reason
Alex
is
Bregman.
because there's been 2 years now that the Astros and Alex Bregman cannot agree on a deal, and the fact that they like an extension, and the fact that they're so far off kind of leads me to say it's going to take a lot for the Astros to sign Kyle Tucker, and I'm not sure if they're comfortable to going for as many years or for as much money that Kyle Tucker wants. I think the Kyle Tucker is one of the Astros need to keep for 2025, but the fact that these past 2 years they've been so far off is kind of makes it hard, like kind of make it believable that will happen.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. If you lose out on Bregman, and then if you lose out on Kyle Tucker next year, you have Jose Altuve and you got Yordan Alvarez. Them are your only two superstars from, we could go back to 2016 when you had Springer, Correa, Bregman, Altuve. Then 2019 comes with Yordan Alvarez, Kyle Tucker, I believe came in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, or even 19. So all the superstars are going to be gone. Kyle Tucker is going to be gone if the Astros do re-sign Bregman, but there'll be 3. And Kyle Tucker's a guy that's an MVP candidate, honestly. This is a guy that if he's playing healthy, he's hitting 30 plus home runs. He's getting 100 something RBIs. He's had a gold glove, silver slugger. He was having an MVP season last year before he got hurt. If he wasn't hurt, this man would probably finish in the top 3 MVP. I don't know if he would win the MVP just for the fact what Aaron Judge was doing last season, but he would be in conversations at least in the top 3. This is a 5-tool guy with the speed, the contact, the power, the defense, all that type of stuff. And I feel like it's just going to be very hard for the Astros to try and get an extension done with Kyle Tucker. That number is going to be really high up there, especially seeing what Juan Soto could be potentially making. Young outfielder, 5-tool guy. Same thing as Kyle Tucker. And I think if you're the Astros, Alex Bregman is going to be the guy that you really have to find a way to keep in Houston. And like Dana Brown had mentioned, want to make him an Astro for life.
Okay. So I guess we're in agreement there. Alex Bregman's top priority for the Astros. What is to get them back to the postseason? What's your number 2? Because we're gonna do top 3. So what's your number 2 thing they have to do?
So number 2 for me, it's going to be adding a first baseman and left-handed bat. Okay. I don't know if it'd be too hard to do that, but some of the names that we had talked about on the list, I'm going to go with some of the names on here. I did my notes right here, but I'm not going to go into very deep detail on each of these guys. But we'll start off with number 3 on my first baseman list. Is going to be Paul Goldschmidt. Yes. He's not raised at the age. I think he's like 37, if I already had mentioned. Very down year last year. One of his worst in his career. 245, 302, 414 slash line, 716 OPS. Really isn't bad, honestly. Just maybe below average or right there in the MLB average of the OPS. 147 hits, 22 home runs, 65 RBIs. And last season was one of his biggest high strikeout rate. He had a very high 26.5% of the time. You got to go back all the way to 2018 when he struck out more, and that percentage was pretty damn high, 25.1. But we saw this with Jose Abreu, and when I say we, I'm meaning me and you. We've seen like He was late to the fastball, very late to the fastball. Same thing as Paul Goldschmidt. He's struggling on fastballs right now. I don't know if it could be because of the age that could play in a counterpart of why they're struggling with the fastball. But if you look at his spray chart, he is very pull side that he's going to hit the ball to left no matter what. And he hits the ball with a 358 batting average when he hits it to the left side, which is really damn well. And then if you want to put into part of those numbers, think about it. He's playing at Busch Stadium. That's a 330, 328 distance to left, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of doubles if you go look at his spray chart in left field for Paul Goldschmidt. Now think about if playing at Minute Maid Park, you're most believe them doubles are going to turn into home runs just for the fact that the Crawford boxes and the distance of 315 on the left side. And then another part for him, I would say 656 average when he hits the ball on the line. So the line drives are still there for this guy. But last season, I already said he struggled with the fastball. Strikeout rate was pretty high. That's why I'm not saying he's going to be number one on my list, but you can flirt with a year. You could flirt with a 2-year deal, just like you were saying, trying to prove yourself to get back. Pull a Teoscar Hernandez 1 year, 20 something million. I'm not saying Paul Goldschmidt's a $20 million man, but you could flirt with a 1 year, 2-year deal. This kid did play in the Woodlands, not too far from the Houston area. So I will put him on the list. Carlos Santana is going to be number 2 for me, coming off a great season defensively. Gold Glove. I think that's where the Astros were lacking last year was defensive purposes. And Yuli Gurriel was that guy on the right side, scooping, diving. I'm not saying John Singleton didn't do none of that because he did a really good job stepping in for Jose Abreu. But the defense was the biggest part at first base when we're talking about fielding percentages and defensive run save, all that type of stuff. And I think the Astros need to look at a first baseman who is a defensive minded player. And Carl Santana really did that. Switch hitter, played it in the Twin Cities. So, of course, you're going to see that right field wall pretty damn high. 238, 328, 420 was his slash line, 748 OPS, 23 home runs, 71 RBIs. Isn't bad, honestly.
Not bad at all.
It is not bad at all. 3.0 WAR, which is next to a guy that I'm going to say next real quick. 114 WRC weight, runs created. And the strikeout rate wasn't really bad. Really not bad. 16.8% of the time. Like I said, won his first Gold Glove at first base. And I've already mentioned Paul Goldschmidt was a guy that struggled at first base. Not struggled at first base. Struggled with the fastball when he was hitting at the plate. And this is a guy that can hit everywhere on the spray chart, of course, because he is a switch hitter. I think he would fit in really well in this clubhouse. A lot of Latinos in this clubhouse. Dominican presence. Had a really good defensive year. He's very sneaky with the offensive production, I will say. But Carl Santana is going to be second on my list. Number 1 is going to be Christian Walker. Christian Walker, I think, is going to be on everybody's list as the number 1 target for first baseman for the Houston Astros. This is the first baseman you want on your team. Just straight up. Like, I think I would personally, in my opinion, I would take Christian Walker over Pete Alonso. That is saying a lot because of the age difference. Alonso is 29. Walker is 33. But Christian Walker, great defensive player, 3 consecutive years winning a Gold Glove. Offensive numbers are great. 251 slash line, 335 on base percentage, 468 slugging. OPS is 803, 120 hits, 26 home runs. Has a great relationship. One of the guys that the Astros just grabbed in the coaching staff, Tony Perez Chica. That could be a guy that can kind of lean in, bringing in Walker into Houston. I don't know if it will happen, but he could play a big part of that. I mean, he did help out the infield and with the defense. So that's another guy. Bat BIP is really good too. 287, not really too far from the 300. Very pull happy, just like Paul Goldschmidt on the spray chart. And just like him as well, the doubles at Chase Field. I don't know if you've seen Chase Field. I don't know if you played it on MLB The Show. I don't know if you even been there. But left field is pretty damn far. It is really damn far over there on that side. You're thinking about it. You're thinking about it. I saw them eyes twirl.
Yeah.
But another thing we got to factor when we're looking for guys, not we, but the Astros, if they're looking for guys with runners in scoring position, that's going to be the biggest part because a lot of offense just did not happen last year with runners in scoring position. That's been a plague for the Astros, I would say, for a couple of seasons now. Christian Walker, I mean, it's not a very high number, but I would say it's better than Carlos Santana and Paul Goldschmidt. Christian Walker had a 254 average with runners in scoring position. Carlos Santana was 214. Paul Goldschmidt was 203. So
Yep.
these are my first baseman list. Go ahead and say your number two real quick before I go with the outfield. I'm gonna just try swing outfield out the way,
Okay.
but first baseman's I think it's gonna be a big priority. At the Astros do come in agreement with Bregman and shift their focal point at first base.
No, we love it because these are great conversations to have. Honestly, like things that Astros fans would like to see happen. And for me, you went offensive, which is great because I think the offense kind of struggled a little bit this past year, injuries and just guys having a down year. But something that we saw you can never have an abundance of is going to be starting pitching. And with a lot of injuries, the Astros, I think they're going to lose Justin Verlander. They lost on Yusei Kikuchi, and they have guys that probably won't be ready to mid-year. So let's start with starting pitching. I'm gonna go with Michael Lorenzen. Now I'm gonna say all three first, and then I'm gonna tell you. Then I'll give you the stats, and I'm gonna tell you why. So Michael Lorenzen, Patrick Sandoval, or Nick Pivetta. I think those are the guys that could make the Astros a little bit better. You're probably looking at me and saying like those guys haven't not had good years, and that's fair. I would say starting with Patrick Sandoval, I think that's one of the guys that could be a little sneaky, a late round things because he's 28 years old. He's recovering for Tommy John. He hasn't had the best numbers. If we're looking at it with the Astros seen him a lot with the Angels. He had a 5.08 ERA last year, 4.11 in 2023. But if we look at 22 and 21, 2.91 and 3.62, which is not too bad pitching in Anaheim, having the Astros every so often, the Seattle Mariners and the Astros. He's a lefty as well. And in 2022 and 2023 were the most he's pitched in innings, which is over 140 innings. He has the potential. He has the potential to be something. He was in the Astros farm system early in his career. He was drafted by them, so they saw something in him that they liked. Obviously, they had to trade him to Los Angeles to happen, but he's only 28 years old, and I think that's something that could kind of help either in the bullpen or in the late round rotation. I would say Michael Lorenzen too. He had a pretty good 2020-24. He's only 32 years old. Let me give you some stats. Give me a second. I lost the page. He only pitched 28 innings with the Kansas City Royals, and he had a 1.57 ERA. Pitched 101 innings with the Texas Rangers, had a 3.8 ERA. In 2023, he had a 5.1. 2023, 3.58, and then the rest is all 4s and 5s the years below. Now I'm going to go with Nick Pivetta. Nick Pivetta is only 31 years old. He hasn't had an ERA under 4 in his entire career, not counting 2022. Not counting 2020.
How many seasons has he pitched?
He's pitched 8 years, and not once has he had under 3. Which is, again, you're looking at me like, why am I picking those guys? Well, if history unfolds, the Astros have an ability to get the best out of these pitchers. Look at Garrett Cole when he came in. Look at and I had
Charlie
a list.
Morton.
Charlie Morton is another one. I know the list goes on.
Yeah, I could go on with you. Wade
Taylor
Miley,
Scott,
that's another guy.
Taylor Scott this past season as well. They have the ability to get the best out of them. They see the great analytics teams, and as the season happened last year, you can never have too much pitching. Those are some great guys that could eat up innings, stay healthy, kind of help you in the long run. And Michael Lorenzen has had experience in the bullpen as well. Patrick Sandoval, I think that's a guy that realizes that he's on a winning team for the first time in a while, and I'm sure he'll do anything to help that team out as well. Nick Pivetta is a guy that's going to be a workhorse in there. He's not, again, hasn't had an ERA under 4, but he's going to eat up innings. Do what he has to do to keep you in the game. I think those are 3 guys that can really help the Astros compete for a World Series title.
I like the list, honestly. The Patrick Sandoval one's a really intrigued one because I'm not sure what's his recovery time right now.
Mid-season.
Mid-season. So, yeah, that'd be tough, but I wouldn't be opposed if the Astros do go after and go grab him because when you look after this season, like we've already mentioned with who's the next free agents for the Astros, Framber Valdez is going to be on that list. We don't know if the Astros are going to try to get an extension done with Framber or they're just going to let him walk and test free agency. Plus, two, Framber, that's his decision as well. But after that, who's your lefty? You don't have a lefty in that rotation. It's really best, I would say, for a starting rotation to at least have one lefty in there. And like you mentioned, I mean, Patrick Sandoval, he's still a young guy. What the Astros were able to do, from past seasons, getting these type of all-star caliber pitchers and transform them into World Series champions, excluding Garrett Cole. But I mean, Garrett Cole was a Cy Young candidate.
Yeah.
So what the Astros have done, yeah, it's really remarkable on that list. I do have that as my number 3, signing a back end starter, because of course when you look at the rotation right now, who's going to be on the rotation heading into 2025? Framber Valdez, Hunter Brown, Spencer Arrighetti, Ronel Blanco, and I don't know if I'm missing one, but
That's it because Christian Javier won't be ready to.
so yeah, you see, it depends too. It depends too if Luis Garcia's rehab has gone well. It goes to same thing with Lance McCullers Jr.
JP France.
JP Francis coming back from injury, Christian Javier. So not getting the all-star names, like I think both of us were reading that really well. They're not going to get the guys like Corbin Burns or Max Fried, all those type of names. But
another reason for that, yeah. So I forgot to explain. Like another reason for that is if the Astros sign Alex Bregman, which we, was our number one priority, they're gonna have to they're gonna miss out on those top, ace pitchers. And the reason why Patrick Sandoval is that he is recovering from Tommy John, so maybe you can get him a little cheaper, knowing that you can get there. But yeah, for my next one as well, before I learn, these are guys you can get like from bottom of the barrel, kind of like cheap guys that I think could really be helpful. Go ahead, Zo.
yeah, just for the back end starters, real quick. And I had Michael Lorenzen on one of them. Cal Quantrell's another guy I think the Astros were kind of linked to at the trade deadline with the Rockies. So maybe him. I mean, he did play with the Guardians as well. And then Martin Perez. I don't think Martin Perez is a bad left-handed pitcher. He's not a bad southpaw guy. Venezuelan guy too. Omar Lopez has a little bit of familiarity with him, coaching him in the WBC. Jose Altuve has some ties right there as well. So, I mean, plus he's already played in the AL West with the Rangers, but he did have a really great second half with who was it? The Padres. And then this guy was an all-star too with the Rangers before. So I think he wouldn't be a bad guy. But when you're looking for a pitcher, a starting pitcher specifically, you're going to look at guys that are going to be in your rotation, like the 3, the 4, and the 5s. You already got your number 1 and your number 2 with Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown. But adding a guy like that, like you said, I don't think I would be opposed for the Astros looking at a starter. That's why that's going to be number 3 on my list, would be pitching, because I think the Astros have to focus on offense. But go ahead and go with your sign relievers real quick. Did you want to
go with your left-handed batters?
No, go ahead with the pitchers real quick. I think I already gave everybody your number 3, but explain why. And because of the outfield list, I have 3 guys in the outfield that I think the Astros should look at, and left-handed batters.
Okay, so for bullpen, I did pick a few guys that have been a little better with the starting pitching. I feel like you kind of have to give and take there, like kind of work what you got. So the guys over 3 ERAs, you're gonna have to make that work. However, if you're gonna pick up guys like that, you're gonna need a strong bullpen. And although the Astros have shown past years they could have a strong bullpen, you saw these guys get overworked a lot with Josh Hader pitching a ton. Ryan Abreu, I think, finished off the league in appearances. Ryan Presley as well, pitching a lot. So you're going to have guys that kind of reinforce that bullpen, guys that have experience in pressure situations. And I'm going to start with Carlos Estevez. He had a pretty good season in 2024 with the Angels and Phillies. Finished off the season with a 2.45 ERA. He also had 26 saves last year. Now, obviously, the Astros have Josh Hader, but kind of reducing that role. Like with the Phillies, you kind of saw him late in games, kind of giving up some late inning runs, maybe kind of the pressure there, but having him in hey, they're not going to come in here and get saves. We just need to get out 3 outs, and that's it. Kind of like a Hector Neris kind of role. I think he can be pretty successful in that aspect there. Ryan Yarbrough, I think it's when he was with the Dodgers. Really comeback season there for him. He was with the Tampa Bay Rays for a while there, but and also with the Toronto Blue Jays. But I think that's a guy that I'm looking at. Finished off 2024 with 3.19 ERA. That's split between Toronto and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Only picked up one save, so he's not really a save guy. He's going to be those middle relief guys. And he pitched 98.2 innings, so like a workhorse there too as well. He's going to come in, get 3 outs, and he has a potential to get more than 3 outs in multiple innings as well. Lefty with a kind of submarine style pitching, very hard to hit, very hard to hit. And another one's going to be Jose Leclerc, just down in Dallas. I think he's been with the Rangers the entire time. Now, I think this is a time, if the Astros are one of both, but they're both, and this is the time to get him. Historically, he's been pretty good. 2022, 2023, under 3 RAs, 2.83 in 2022, 2.68 in 83. A guy that can pick up a save or two as well. In 2024, he had kind of like a bad season, 4.32 ERA, but again, like I told you earlier, the Astros have the ability to get guys back and better, and I think this is a guy that can be a little sleeper pick for the Astros, and Jose Leclerc. And a veteran guy, Latino, I think he can go in really well with that, with Brian Abreu, kind of help him pitch, like get where he needs to be and stuff like that. So I think that'd be a good one too.
I think that interaction would be with Jose Altuve.
and Jose Leclerc, or
yeah, Jose Altuve hitting that home run against the Kirk. But those are some good names. Them are good names, honestly.
I was just say, I think they can probably laugh about it, and I'm sure Jose Altuve will point out where it landed and stuff.
I will say this: these are some names that are former closers. I think Yarborough was a closer at a time with the Rays. That one is a really good one. I think that would be perfect for the Astros. You already have you're gonna get back. If you're the Astros, you're getting back what you call its name that had a really great season in 23, but he didn't pitch this past season in 24 because
Graven.
No, not Graveman's not a lefty. He's a lefty. I can't remember the top of my top of my head right now, but yeah, adding a lefty to that bullpen is going to really help. Yarborough's movement on his off speeds are really well. Yeah, the arm slot, like you were mentioning, like a submarine, that's very unhittable. Carlos Estevez and Jose Leclerc are interesting ones, but the point I'm going to make too with that is the Astros are potentially shopping Ryan Pressly, and like I had mentioned, in my opinion, I think Ryan Pressly is not going to be on the Astros roster going into 2025. So you need a guy that's going to kind of be in that 7th spot or even that 8th spot. I think Brian Abreu is going to get that setup role again if they do trade away Pressly. So getting one of those guys, taking the pressure off, especially in a high game situation, I think it's going to help them a lot. It's going to benefit for those type of relievers you were saying.
For sure.
But to end it on mine, and this was going back to number 2 with adding a first baseman, left-handed batter, we're going to look in more to the outfield depth because they had mentioned they're looking for a left-handed bat and probably more than likely an outfielder, which is going to help out, Jake Myers, Chas McCormick. Of course, you saw the injuries, how that played out with Jordan Alvarez not playing a lot of games with that injury in the middle part, and then especially in that last part of the season. Kyle Tucker missing 2/3 of the season last year as well. So let's start off with a guy I really think the Astros could make a bid for, and that is Max Kepler. Okay. I honestly think they can make a bid for him. And why I say that is when Kepler is healthy, he is a great offensive player. He is one of the best one of the best hitting outfielders, I would say. 2023 and 2024, this past season, he was going along with a lot of injuries. But in 2023, he played 130 games, and 2024, he played 105. Yeah, that's a 25-game difference. It doesn't look like a lot, but that's almost missing a month of baseball right there. Mm-hmm. In 23, his WAR was 2.9. This past season, it was a 1.0. And I will say this about him: 253 slash line, 302, 380, OPS 682. Of course, it's not the best, but with Max Kepler, man, and I was looking at these stats, he's honestly a good offensive hitter. 93 hits, 8 home runs, 42 RBIs last season. But when he's healthy, the bat is immaculate. 2019, He was a MVP candidate, finished in 20 in the MVP voting, 4.0 WAR, 132 hits, 32 doubles, 36 home runs, 90 RBIs. If you can even go back to 23, 24 home runs, 66 RBIs. The OPS plus is positive up there, 123 in 2019, 120 in 2023. So you can see when he's healthy, he's a really good player that you could plug in, that has that pop, that has the contact as well. I will say this: the walk rate, very bad, very horrendous. 5.5% of the time. That's not really great. You want to look at 10 plus if you're looking at the walk rate. But the BABIP did help him right there with 300. WRC plus is a 94. Like I said, 2023 last season, when you're healthy playing 136 games, because this is not a sprint, it is a marathon. A lot of the StatCast numbers in 23, great percentile numbers, high up there in the 80s, the 90s, could cover range in the outfield as well defensively. And he's been one of the longest tenured players in Twins history. When you look at the categories in, different numbers, runs, home runs, doubles, RBIs, he's on that list. Target field already mentioned. It's a very difficult place to hit if you're right-handed, not right-handed, left-handed hitter hitting to the right field because of the wall in right. The only thing I would say for him is he's only played center and right field. I think if you're the Astros, you're kind of looking for a guy that's going to play left field with Jordan Alvarez because of the injuries, and you don't want him to be hurt. And last but not least, the runners in scoring position is pretty damn good for him. 245. I had mentioned with Christian Walker, it was 254. Not too far away, but if he's healthy and like we had mentioned, looking at rentals, maybe a year, not even rentals, but just signing a year, try to prove it deal that you're still capable of hitting really well, then maybe they could go after a guy like Kepler.
Yeah.
Second on my list, go ahead.
I would say that's a very sleeper pick that I kind of like it. It could be a potential, like I'm not saying they're the same player, but that could be kind of like a Tosco Hernandez kind of deal where having a bad season can just make a big impact for your club. And he's from Germany, so I wonder how many Germans have worn an Astros uniform. That'd be pretty cool to know too.
Well, we saw Yusei Kikuchi bring the Japanese community to Houston. Maybe we could get the Germans. I know we had some German listeners that were on the charts with
Nice.
our podcast, but yeah, I think he'd be a really great addition. Plus, like I had mentioned, Kyle Tucker, if you're the Astros, you don't know the future of him. He could plug in at right field if everything goes well. They give him a 2-year, 3-year deal. You probably throw some options on there. So yeah, if when he's healthy, great offensive player. I think when we're talking about what the Astros need, they really need offense because they did struggle in that category last year. And when you look at the numbers, though, they didn't look like they struggled in that. But runners in scoring position, trying to bring in runs and all that type of stuff, I think, in my opinion, that's where they kind of struggled. And I think Kepler could help that part. Number 2 on my list, Alex Verdugo. Great range in the outfield, could play all 3 positions. You saw he played left field with the Yankees this past season. He played right field with the Red Sox in his tenure over there in Boston. And he does have some sneaky offensive pop. Wasn't his great offensive year, 233, 291, 356. OPS is a 647. You would think with the short portion right, he'd be having some good numbers. The thing with Verdugo is he really hits the ball everywhere, man. He could pull, he could hit up the middle to the opposite field. He's a really, well-rounded player when it comes to being in the box. His BABIP wasn't the best, about 253, lowest in his career. Other than that, I mean, from his career on, if you're taking away 24, it's been near 300 or just over 300 in his BABIP. 0.6 WAR, 83 WRC plus. And like I mentioned, I mean, if the Astros are going to trade one of those guys, one of those outfielders, if they do, who's going to play left field with Jordan Alvarez? Either you could call the farm system and say, hey, Jacob Melton's ready to go. They have experimented trying to play Shea Whitcomb out there and Zach Zinzo getting some reps in the outfield. Didn't play, I think, in a game necessarily, but have gotten some reps. Then you could plug Verdugo in left field, and you could put Jordan Alvarez in the DH. You could swipe. You could do a lot of things, and I think that's what makes Verdugo so versatile. Is you could put him anywhere. You could give him an off day. You could put him in the DH, and his defensive numbers are really great. He has a great arm in the outfield as well. I've talked to Alex Cora last year when he was with Boston, and he said the number one thing that he's been doing really well is his defense. Take away the offensive away, the approach. His defense has been a big reason why they were winning a lot of games that past season. So that's number two on my list. Number one on my list is going to be Anthony Santander. That guy, offensively, he's one of the damn best. One of the damn best. Switch hitter as well, back to back great offensive years. Really had a historic season in his career last year, first time All Star. Venezuelan ties too. So Omar Lopez, I've talked to him about when I'm writing about Santander. He has a lot of great things to say about him. Same goes for Jose Altuve. Slash lines 235, 308, 506 slugging, OPS 814. Those are the numbers that you want in a guy like that. 140 hits, 44 home runs, 102 RBIs. The strikeout rate, pretty damn high, but when you're replacing that with 102 RBIs and 44 home runs, I think you would want him on your team if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So 3.3 WAR, 129 WRC plus, got a WOBA of 345. I think this is a guy that you would like to have in your lineup. I don't know if it can happen if the Astros do re-sign Alex Bregman. I don't know how much the market would be for Santander. I know the market's really good for him. You know, a lot of teams are calling him at this moment, but the contract, I think the negotiating with the money in that situation too, with the Astro CBT going over the tax, all that type of stuff does come into factor if Alex Bregman does resign.
Yeah, I mean that's a great list, and I think one that could really be realistic with Alex Bregman signed is Alex Verdugo. I mean, he was just getting paid $8 million in New York. I think a good 15 $15 million deal could get it done there. So I mean, that's a great list too. That's a need they need because offense was kind of inconsistent last year. So I think anything helps at this point.
Yeah, 28 years old, not to mention Mexican American. No, the Astro fans lost a Mexican pitcher in Jose Urquidy. I think Astro fans would love to see Alex Verdugo and Patrick Sandoval as the city of Houston. I mean, very diverse, a lot of Hispanics, Latinos. I think it'd be a perfect match for Houston if that does happen.
I think so too. But around the horn time, and it's already an hour past. So let's see what we got right here. Uh, let's start with the biggest. I think once Juan Soto signs, will be the biggest signing. But I think like the second biggest signing is me Blake Snell. He signed with the Dodgers. Cue the evil music. It was a 5-year deal, 182 million, 52 million signing bonus, so that he gets that right up front, and 66 million deferred through 2046. This comes after the signing of Tommy Edman, who signed a 5-year, $74 million deal with the Dodgers as well. Out of all the contracts, all the big year contracts they have in Blake Snell now, Tommy Edman, Mookie Betts, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, Otani, and even Teoscar Hernandez I'm going to throw in there because he signed a deal with different money too. The Dodgers owe over $1 billion from 2028 through 2046 in deferred money. $1 billion.
I don't know if Angel knows, but I can't hear him. I can't hear you on my side. Your audio's kind of cutting off. I can hear the background, but I can't hear you speaking of. Yeah, I got you now. We're live in here.
Okay, so what I was saying is, if you're a Dodgers fan, this is great news. You know your team is getting so much better, like throwing out all this money. But if you're a small market team, realistically, are you able to compete with all this deferred money that's being thrown out? So my question to you is, should deferred money be included in the luxury tax or no? You're on mute, Zo.
You see, now we're flip-flopping on no one can hear us. But going to that question, I mean, it's going to be difficult because I'm pretty sure the owners and GMs had probably played a part of talking about this. They're going to have a new contract, if I'm not mistaken, too, later on with the man. What's the league that they do? I can't remember at the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be meeting about this and talking about it because it's huge. I mean, it's smart on the Dodgers. You can't say they're not being smart about this, but yeah, 2028 to 2024. I mean, 2046. You're over $1 billion. My God. So to answer your question, I will agree. It's going to kind of be difficult for everybody to play a part and, try to get these free agent signings and stuff like that. So I think it could be a problem, having that come into play with the deferred money. It's smart on the Dodgers, but I don't know. Are you there?
Sorry, I'm having audio troubles, so I can't. I think it's from me. I can't hear what you're saying. So, yeah.
Just go on. Just go on.
Okay. So I guess let's just continue. Uh, Moving on with another big signing is to be Aroldis Chapman. He signed with the Boston Red Sox. Signed a 1 year, $10.75 million deal. I think that's a great deal. It's not as expensive as I thought Aroldis Chapman will go for. I think that's a good economical deal that gives them room to sign somebody else and just bolster up the rotation that bullpen up as well. So that's a good deal for them. And the guy I was eyeing for the Astros, I think the Astros could have gone, was Frankie Montas. He signed with the Mets, a 2 year, $34 million contract. He will get paid $17 million a year. Another guy that I think would have been great for the Astros is Matthew Boyd, which is 2 year, $29 million with a mutual option for 2027. As we head into, or as the Astros head into uh, the winter meetings, those are two guys that could have made a big splash for the Astros, and they're now gone. Blake Snell's gone. Yusei Kikuchi's done. So that starting pitching list is slowly diluting down. So I think the Astros are going to have to make a move. Like, I agree with you in that aspect. The Astros are going to have to make a move in the winter meetings to kind of stay with what's going on in the market. It's not. It's going to be like a seller's market again. Prices are going to be high, but those name guys that could be a little bit cheaper than the rest are already coming off the table. So they have to do something.
Yeah, Matthew Boyd didn't even pitch last season, if I'm not mistaken, and the Guardians just kind of snagged him. So yeah, for him to make 2 years, 29 million, that you got to respect for Boyd what he did and was able to do to get that mutual option, obviously in 2027. Um, but yeah, the market's going already. Montas, I think, would have been a great addition for the Astros. 2 years, 34 million. Yeah, 17 million could be a little bit high just for the fact of his injury history. But I mean, he's still young. He's still promising. The Astros have seen him from his days in Oakland. Um, but it's gonna be an interesting winter meetings for the Astros because I can't remember the last winter meeting signing that was very important to them. I think at the top of my head, it would have to be Michael Brantley. I think that was the biggest winter meeting splash for the Astros that had helped them, um, in the past. And as you know, obviously now, last year they went to get Victor Caratini, which I thought that was a great signing for them to getting a backup catcher for Yainer Diaz. Plus, he did play first baseman for the Astros this past season. And then the guy that was with the Kansas City Royals, I cannot remember his name at the top of my list. He was a reliever. Just didn't go out well that they were hoping for. But of course, Tanner Scott, not Tanner, Taylor Scott, I think it was before the winter meetings or maybe after the winter meetings. He
I think
wasn't
it
a
was
huge
before.
splash. Yeah, he wasn't a huge splash. It was a minor league contract. Proved it at spring training, and what a signing it was for the Astros, and even for Scott himself. I mean, it was a great year for him, and I'm pretty sure both him and the Astros are looking forward to what's next for 25.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I didn't put anything on the Juan Soto deal because it's a lot going on,
It is a
but
lot. It is a lot.
w- we'll give you more once it comes closer to that or he signs for the team.
Prediction time. Soto, where's he going?
Same Ed.
Okay, you'll say Mets. I do. My heart does say the New York Mets. I'll go Boston. Boston has been
Okay.
playing huge in this part, and then to have him paired up with Rafael Devers, their farm system's really well, and that was one big thing for Soto too. Was what does the future look like for these teams with the farm system? And shit, Boston has 6 top 100 prospects, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
And we know one of the guys, Brady Montgomery, who played at Texas A&M or alum. Yeah, we're not going to talk about the football story on that part, but him as a player, he's a really great player. Obviously had that injury in the Super Regional, if I'm not mistaken. You were there when it happened, but having Juan Soto and that deal, I mean, with that team and being a rival team from New York to Boston, I think it hurt. I think for New York Yankee fans, it will hurt more to see Soto in a Boston Red Sox uniform than a Mets uniform, I would say.
I think so too.
But yeah, that's my prediction for that part. Astroworth, Craig, real quick, what about Neris?
That's
That'd
another
be an
option there.
interesting one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think. Don't be surprised if the Astros do bring him back. I wouldn't be surprised.
See, the thing with him, I mean, and you can argue with Carlos Estevez too, is that they're going to
Mhm.
want big reliever money, and
Do you
if you
think? Okay,
sign,
but do you think Neris is big reliever money though? I think
I,
he's less
I think
than
he's proved.
Estevez.
Yeah, you're right, but I think he's proved himself that he can, pitch in big games, and I think he did deserve some big money.
Very interesting winter meetings. It's gonna be a freaking roller coaster.
Absolutely.
The next episode's gonna be lit. Unless some big news happens, if the Astros and Alex Bregman or just any big name come into an agreement and signing and all that stuff, we could potentially have a live episode of breaking that down and the breaking news kind of thing.
No short
With
one.
that, yeah, a little short one. Our big one will be on Thursday. It won't be an hour and 11 minutes. I promise you that, but it'll be around that hour range, under an hour. But yeah, we appreciate everybody's time and being on with us and talking about this pre-winter meetings, because like I said, the winter meetings are a very important part of the off season, and it's going to be important for this Astros team to see what they're going to do going into the offseason, seeing how they're going to prepare for the new season coming up in 2025. But like Angel had mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you don't follow us on our social media, from Instagram, which is FSA Full Steam Ahead, we got Twitter, we got TikTok, we got all that. We're still doing our countdown for the end of the year of top plays of the Astro season in 2024. And above my head, that's where you can follow on our podcast platforms, from Spotify to Apple. If you haven't hit that subscribe button onto that YouTube channel, you make sure you do that. We're going to try to get some interviews throughout this off season, maybe for this month coming up after the winter meetings. Maybe we can try to get an interview with a local beat writer or, from the Astros. So stay tuned to that. Angel, you got anything else before we sign off?
No, just thank you for sticking to us, and it's 12 minutes past the hour, but we appreciate all the support. Share our podcast, our word, spread the word about us, and thank you for everything.
Yes. So make sure, you don't know, we might make a breaking live tweet if something happens with the Astros sign a big market name. If so, watch out. Thursday will probably be our big episode talking about the RoFi draft, post winter meetings, all that type of stuff. But till then, y'all stay safe. We'll talk to y'all soon, and have a safe weekend if we don't talk to y'all this coming week.
Peace.